Welcome to Conscious TV. My name is Iain McNay, and today our guest is Francis Lucille. Hi, Francis.
Hi.
And this is a bit of a special occasion for Conscious TV because normally we film our programmes at a studio in West London, and we're very used to going in the studio. It's all organised for us. And today we have an outside crew coming as experiment because Francis couldn't make it to London. So, and we're in the middle of a week-long retreat that you're doing here at Rupert Spira's home here in Shropshire, and we met last night for dinner, and I really enjoyed our conversation. It was quite feisty at times, and there were some disagreements. I was going to just start by asking you something that came up later on in the evening, which interested me a lot. It was to do with the intent of the seeker. Somebody here was saying in their own, I'm putting this in my own words, but the intent is so important. The passion for the truth is so important for a seeker, someone trying to find the truth. And I was wondering what your response to that is.
Yes, it is important.
Yeah.
It is the only determining factor for the success of this endeavor. The rest is almost irrelevant. Because the rest is about the abilities of the mind and of the body. The problem is that if the mind is strong, it has accumulated strong obstacles. And therefore, there is no advantage having a strong mind. There is no disadvantage either, because the same strong mind which has accumulated the obstacles has the ability to deconstruct them. However, the sole prerequisite for success is the love, the desire for the truth. That cannot be conveyed by a human touch. It is only conveyed by grace, which is God's touch.
But the thing that interests me is that people have awakenings in so many different conditions and situations and backgrounds. And certain people have awakenings, they've done no spiritual work, they've had no interest in that, and yet something happens that fundamentally changes their life, changes the way they see life, and then in their own way they start looking. It's almost as if, whatever we call it, awakening, realization, it's random at times, and it will hit someone who's a seeker, but it also, I'm using my own words here, hit obviously, it hits someone that's done nothing.
Yes, perhaps. However, you have to be careful when we use the word awakening. We may be talking apples and oranges.
Apples and oranges. So what do you mean by that?
I mean by that what one person calls awakening is not necessarily the same thing.
Well, that interests me. So let's have a look at, because the word awakening comes up, realization comes up, enlightenment comes up, non-duality comes up. So I'm wondering how you see them different from one another.
Awakening would be the experience of consciousness seeing itself in the absence of objects, in its total freedom and independence, in its autonomy. It is a revelation of absolute happiness, of absolute splendor, of absolute love and intelligence. That would be awakening or enlightenment, or as a result of this transforming event, a gradual elimination of the residues of ignorance takes place. that could be called the self-realization process that ends up in the experience of our natural state, which is the absence of any illusion as to what we are, either at the level of thoughts, of concepts, or at the level of bodily sensations, feelings, sense perceptions. Now, what was the other term to define?
Well, we also, I mentioned enlightenment and also non-duality.
Now, duality would be the belief in the existence of more than one reality. Non-duality could be expressed by the simple formula, there is only one reality. Another word I think deserves to be defined. It's the word consciousness or awareness. In my vocabulary, I use both as synonyms, perhaps because in French we only have one word, consciousness.
Okay.
And consciousness is that, whatever that is, which is hearing these words right now, whatever that is. That's a definition. So we have a level playing field now. And start.
Okay. Well, that interested me when you said consciousness is whatever is hearing the words now. That's a good question, and not an easy question to always find an answer to. Well,
on the one hand, we are absolutely certain that these words are not lost. I mean, there is a receiving end. Right? There is some entity which is in this moment hears and understands these words.
Absolutely.
They are not lost in some nothingness, in some oblivion. They are being heard, being perceived. And consciousness is precisely whatever it is.
And are you saying it can be one thing or another? You're saying whatever
we
it is?
We usually believe it to be, if you come from a materialist vantage point, we believe it to be a physical body that does the perceiving. If we come from an idealistic or idealist vantage point, we believe it to be a mind. In other words, we identify this consciousness in both cases with some kind of an object which is limited. A limited mind, human mind, a limited body. Now, my contention is that there is no evidence of such limitation. That there is no experiential evidence of that there is such a limitation of consciousness or in consciousness.